We hear so often that students aren't always ready for what's next after school. But what if high school actually taught you how to make money, how to manage your time, and dodge your first credit card mistake? In other words, how to adult, but with college credit. Welcome to the What and Who of EDU, the show where educators and thought leaders join us to share their strategies and stories straight from today's classrooms. Whether you're looking to boost student confidence, build belonging, navigate new teaching challenges, or figure out where AI fits in, we're here with clear, actionable ideas that you can use right away. I'm your host, Marisa Bluestone, and today we're talking with David Anderson, author of the new AP Business with Personal Finance course materials. We're talking about the next big leap for students, not just from classroom to career, but from teenager to tax-paying adult. We're diving into a new kind of AP course that uses case studies and real-world examples to teach students how to think like entrepreneurs, to manage their own finances, and make real-world decisions before they ever leave high school. Welcome to What's Next for Students, AP Business and Personal Finance Edition. Thank you so much for being here with us, David. Appreciate your time so much. Let's start off with a pretty obvious question. So why this course and why now?
I think of two big reasons. One is accessibility. I've helped out with the AP Microeconomics and AP Macroeconomics courses for a long time, and those are great courses, but the graphs and the math and the rigor of those courses can be intimidating, and they may not be for everyone. But the AP Business with Personal Finance course is designed to be inclusive of every student, every teacher, every school. It doesn't have the graphs. It has some numbers in the finance and accounting parts, but it doesn't have heavy math or a lot of the more intimidating parts that might be in the hard sciences. So with a good textbook, anyone can be on board and have fun with this course, I believe. The other reason is that it has transparent usefulness for careers. On one hand, I think a lot of people appreciate the value of the liberal arts in teaching critical thinking and communication and reading and writing and analysis and other key career skills. But on the other hand, I think there's a growing appetite for courses that are more explicitly linked to careers that students are looking for. That's what Career and Technical Education is about. That's what the College Board's AP Career Kickstarter program is about. And that's exactly what this AP Business with Personal Finance course does. It is transparently designed to help students down the path toward a career in business and entrepreneurship that appeals to many students and parents.
I guess you kind of answered my next question, but maybe there's a little bit more to dig into. When you're imagining a student taking this course, you imagine them going into college or becoming an entrepreneur. What would the next step for them look like?
Well, I think in the short run, I'm hoping that this more accessible course will lead students to take more AP courses in high school. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't take AP. I thought, I was a fairly average student and I didn't think that they were for me. But if the average student can see that AP courses are not only high quality, but also quite manageable and useful and fun, they might take more. So the next chapter might be more AP, maybe AP Economics. After students finish school, I hope that this course leads to greater success in business and entrepreneurship for many of our students. And for all the students, I think this course will prepare them for a higher quality of life because the skills in personal finance and budgeting and communication, decision-making, and so on are highly transferable to most walks of life and much needed.
Yeah, I think it's great that they might take more AP classes. I myself came to college with almost a semester worth of credits because of those AP classes, and they really did make a big difference in terms of affordability for college and general knowledge as well. But you spoke a bit about real world skills, and I want to pick on because it gets thrown around a lot. So if you can share a little bit what that means in terms of this course specifically, maybe an example of a lesson or a module that kind of gives those real world skills that they're looking for.
Yeah, well, specific examples of the skills might include how to develop and test ideas, how to make decisions, how to work effectively as a team. Also, all of the personal finance skills are very much real world skills applicable to everyone. And the lessons that drive that home include the project-based learning activities. In one of those, the students walk through a business canvas project where they'll develop a product and perform customer research and marketing and prepare financial documents. In another one, it's a financial advisor project, and they'll get information on a fictional household and be asked to advise that household on personal finance issues after learning about their financial profile and so forth. And I've really had fun bringing these types of real-world lessons to my own classes. I've done things like rent a booth at a local peddler's mall and have the students in different groups decide on products that they're going to sell in that real-life peddler's mall. I've had students analyze businesses. I'll have an entrepreneur come in and tell their story one day, and then a week later, the students will give presentations after doing some secret shopping at that business on what they would do differently in that business. And a third example is I've had my students pitch products to local stores, like a local running and biking store, and different groups would do the whole brainstorming process and go through the decision-making and then pitch products to the real-life entrepreneur who ended up adopting some of the products. So even in classes like this, we can make it very real life and engaging.
I would have loved to have taken that class in high school. I feel like it would have prepared me for the real world that is college, because you need to learn how to do these things, especially with the gig economy that students are coming into. Being able to give that kind of financial advice, being able to understand what goes in behind making a really great shop work with the secret shopping. I think those are skills that students will absolutely need. So it's fun to hear that. I think another thing that we hear about in business courses, or in particular this course, is case studies. It's a really important part of not only passing the class, but learning how things work in the real world. Can you tell me, how would you lead a discussion about a case study in class?
Case studies are great because they put the students into the shoes of these problem solvers, and it's challenging and exciting. But when it comes to actually implementing this, I begin by having the students read the cases outside of class. That way, they can be longer, they can be more in depth, and the students can complete a worksheet with several tough questions about it and put some thought into it. And it might be a company facing a moral dilemma of whether or not to sell a product that has a known defect, or a business that's handling an interpersonal conflict between employees. And then in class, I ask the student, first I start by saying, could someone please summarize this case? And then I start getting into the questions about what they should do and what the approaches should be. And I write every student's comments on the board, everyone. That makes them feel acknowledged. It helps the people who are distracted keep up. The first ideas lead to better ideas from other people. So I put up everything on the board. For real puzzlers, I'll put columns with pros and cons, and this allows some cost-benefit analysis, weighing pros against cons. It also helps me tread the line on controversial issues, because sometimes, especially with the moral dilemmas and so forth, you don't want to take sides. But if you can put up the pros and the cons, then you can bring out all of the perspectives that everyone should have in thinking about this decision without saying, oh, this is the right answer for this moral dilemma. I try to encourage friendly debate. What do you think about what Sally said? And would anyone take the other side? And what would an argument for that other side be? Uh, I keep it civilized. I have rules in the classroom about, there's not going to be anything uh, derogatory or accusational. But we debate a little bit, and in having the conversations and asking the questions, I try not to jump in too quickly. There's this awkward silence at first when the students are conjuring their courage, and the instinct is to fill that silence. But one of the tricks, I think, is just to let that awkwardness weigh on them and encourage them to jump in.
It sounds like what you're describing isn't really that different from what goes on in meetings in corporate America. You're going to have to work with your colleagues on different problems. You're going to hear their ideas, and their ideas are going to give you more ideas. You're going to debate on the pros and cons of things. So it sounds like the case study is really preparing them for what's happening outside of the classroom and into the world they're coming into, either as an entrepreneur or a contributor or even a manager. They're gonna have those questions. One thing that I really enjoyed about this particular class and this particular project is the personal finance section, because it feels like the missing manual for adulting that a lot of students really need right now. But that being said, personal finance can feel a bit cumbersome or like drudgery. How do you make that fun and engaging to learn in this world of TikTok and everything needing to be 30 seconds or less?
Yeah, great question. I agree that personal finance can be on the duller side. And I took a page from the playbook of the 1980s econ professors who wrote these mystery books about economics, these Fatal Equilibrium and Murder at the Margin, and there's another one called A Deadly Indifference. They teach economics in the body of this mystery that the students can read and have a lot of fun with. And so to help with that in this, Camille Cabrera and I wrote The Light in the Library Basement, which is a mystery story that teaches a lot of in-depth personal finance in the body of this mystery story. So that type of thing can make the class coverage of it a lot more fun and the homework a lot more fun. Also, the case studies about personal finance in the textbook can be another engaging way to think through these challenges. They're real life or realistic stories about people facing dilemmas about what to save and how to earn money and how to reach goals. And through a case study, you get beyond just putting up these numbers and the drier parts of personal finance. And it really has been fun.
I feel like a lot of the Reddit community should take that, because I always see the question pop up, how can I make $1,000 in a month without having to work? And they might learn that that's not a
The
realistic thing.
protagonist in The Light in the Library Basement is a high school student who wants to get several $100s to get a special gift for her sister for her birthday. So it is very much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of causing students to think a lot, especially in this gig economy, like entrepreneurs. Is there a way to kind of balance that creative mindset with the structure needed for that standardized AP course? Like, what's the mix there?
Yeah, we can get that creative mindset in with the project-based learning and the case studies that allow creativity to come out in thinking outside of the box and coming up with solutions that are beyond just crunching numbers or anything like that. Because, business principles could otherwise be very heavy on definitions and accounting and finance practices. But the course and the exam both tie into the cases and the projects explicitly. So those areas of creativity will truly be relevant in all areas of the course and do allow a lot of thinking outside the box.
It is a new course, right?
Yeah.
So we're still kind of learning how students are going to adapt. But with students needing to adapt, the instructors and teachers, they also need to adapt, because I feel like for them, it might feel like they're building the plane while they're flying it, because it's new and it's not something they've done before. How would you suggest that they prepare? Or what would you suggest they do to help make the course as smooth as possible?
Well, a couple of things. First, the textbook is a great help because it covers the course material thoroughly without extraneous coverage that anyone needs to wade through. I moderate these AP teacher communities where a lot of times people are coming on and saying, I've got this non-AP dedicated textbook. It's a general textbook. Which chapters should I use? Which ones shouldn't I use? What do I need to bring in from elsewhere? But the Business with Personal Finance for the AP course textbook has exactly what you need and not what you don't. And it tries to explain all the concepts, even the dry ones, in as clear and colorful ways as possible, which makes it more palatable to the students and super helpful to the teachers as well. It includes AP tips and case studies in addition to the ones that are part of the course. There are all these other ones, so if you want to dig into that more, or you want to replace one case that College Board has presented with a different one that you like better, it's got that opportunity. There are practice problems, both multiple choice and free response. There's definitions in the margins, and it walks everyone, students and teachers, through some of the concepts like pestle analysis and the business model canvas that are crucial in the course, but may be new to many teachers. Also, the College Board will support the course with these AP Summer Institutes and videos and online teacher communities, like I mentioned, where teachers can get further information and support about that. And the AP Summer Institutes for this summer are already being lined up. I definitely recommend first-time teachers especially, which everyone is this term, take an APSI.
So it sounds like a lot of the support is already built in, David, built in the textbook, where you have those resources and all of the definitions and exercises and whatnot. And then also by the College Board, by the AP themselves, putting together these institutes. So it sounds like teachers will have everything that they need already built in for success. They won't have to build the plane. The plane's already built. They just got to fly it.
Yeah, we've spent the last couple of years working real hard building that plane, and I think they'll like the way the book puts that forward.
As we think about the class, right? Like we mentioned, there's a lot of technical stuff to it. There's ways to make it fun, like with the case studies and the projects, and students feeling like they are part of building an actual solution. How do we face the looming challenge of AI and how AI comes in and might give students extra support that they might not have otherwise had? How do you keep the learning alive when that AI is very prevalent and very available?
Yeah, you've hit on a real tough challenge that all teachers everywhere now have to navigate. And we've been thinking a lot about that here at Centre College. I think that as in-person teachers of classes of manageable size, which is the case for most AP teachers and for people at colleges like mine, we do have some advantages. We can do some things that people at the big universities and elsewhere can't, such as in-class quizzes. I used to have the students go off and do these practice problems on business principles or economics or whatever, and those types of assignments now would just become AI prompts and not a lot of thinking would happen. But one thing I do is, instead of that, I say, okay, there's going to be a quiz tomorrow on this business reading. Read it carefully, study it, drill with the definitions and so forth, because this quiz is going to test things in ways that AI cannot pierce. There's going to be real learning because AI can't replace the in-class quiz. I've been doing that a lot in the last year, and that works quite well. I also see writing as important to all types of learning because by writing, students have to think actively and process this information and do critical thinking. And in the proofreading process, they develop the attention to detail that every employer wants and every entrepreneur needs. And that's another challenge for us as teachers because if we say, go write this paper at home, last term I had 15 students who were caught using AI, for example. So that's a real challenge. And I've shifted to having smaller writing assignments in class. I'll say, okay, do some pre-lecture research on a question like how is creativity important to business? And then you'll come in and write for 30 minutes about a page, multiple paragraphs about what you've learned. And I have them bring in a prep sheet that has the bibliography, so they don't need to memorize the bibliography. And it has data bits on it, but no strings of words longer than 4 words. So they can't bring in sentences. They can't use AI to do that type of writing for them, but they can bring in statistics that they're interested in embedding into their paper. And that way, we get the benefit of the research, the learning about why creativity is important to businesses. That's actually done by the students instead of by some artificial intelligence. Those things have worked well in my initial navigation of this AI world.
Love how you're making them go to class and write about creativity in business, which is the creativity is exactly the skill that they need for writing. So kind of pairing the two together, understanding the writing, the creativity, and the importance of it in business, I think is so important. And it is certainly disappointing that you had 50 students. Was it 50 or 15?
Yeah, 15.
15, okay. Not so bad. I mean, still bad, but not so bad. That so many of them were writing with AI. I'm thinking of all of the M dashes and it's not this, it's that. And then, the three idea sentences. You're starting to see some real tells. And another interesting skill for students maybe is learning how to take what they get from AI and thinking about different ways of using that as maybe an inspiration instead of the end product. Are there other ways that we could use AI in the classroom in this class? Perhaps having AI analyze a business case and look for where students might have gone wrong, or any other creative ways to use AI here?
That would be interesting to experiment with. I've had enough experiences with AI being wrong, when it's analyzing something and making a judgment. I'm wary of that, but that doesn't mean you couldn't do that. You could have AI analyze a case and then see where you agree and where you think it might have gotten things wrong. Another interesting use that I like is to have AI generate questions. You'll have a student say, well, I'm bad at multiple choice on this topic, or I'm bad at free response questions. And you can ask AI to generate questions for you as a student to drill with and have an unlimited supply, because in the teacher community, people are often saying, I wish there were more sources for these tests. And the textbooks have test banks and practice exams, but everybody always wants more, and AI can do that. You can say, hey, give me 10 multiple choice questions on pestle analysis, and a second later, you've got some questions to drill with.
That's a really interesting way to think about uses for AI other than the traditional, like having students to write an essay. What is something in this curriculum that makes you think, I really wish I would have learned that in high school?
Well, in one sense, I'd say all of it. When I was in high school, I was like Alex Keaton in that situation comedy, Family Ties, and I wanted to learn everything about business and entrepreneurship and major in business in college and everything. So I would have taken that AP Business with personal finance in a heartbeat. But more specifically, I think the importance of the iterative process of ideation and prototyping and testing repeatedly and patiently before product launch is a lesson that I would have benefited from early on, because that process of elevating quality makes products from books and lectures and everything that we do better. And so I like that iterative lesson that you don't just create it and let it fly. You go through all this testing, and the secret sauce there is that you can then fail at a smaller scale. You learn what's going wrong early on and before it's live or it's being mass produced. And that's a great lesson for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the kind of lesson that would have been so much better than having to take a semester of typing. It's a took a typing class. Again, like the practical skill of a case study, the practical understanding of something that could potentially happen in a business and thinking through all the different aspects of it, I think is so important for students as they kind of walk through not only the class, but whatever is next for them, be it college or entrepreneurship or learning how to balance their own book. Because you need to do that. One final question that I think is really important, and that is being okay with failing. I think in our society, we're very afraid of taking risks because we don't want to fail. And everything that we do is so public, be it on social media or in class, standing in front of people. Our class is helping them to take decisions, to take risks. What role is failure playing in helping students to do that?
Yeah, a big role. I think it's a great question because it's so important for everyone to embrace the benefits of failure. And for example, the students in my entrepreneurship class are failing all the time. Like I told you, I had them sell things in a peddler's mall, and some of them did fine, other things didn't sell at all. But I remind them that so many successful business people and politicians and bands and authors failed miserably, and only after learning the mistakes, the lessons from their failure, they became huge successes. And Bill Gates failed with Trafo data, which was a traffic tracking software program that he came up with in high school. Failure big time, but then learned a lot from that and became a billionaire with Microsoft. And Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple after product failures and returned to bring it to new heights and also be a billionaire. And J.K. Rowling had rejections from many publishers before becoming a billionaire with Harry Potter. So failure is always informative and can be essential to success. And these young entrepreneurs need to see that as a building block and see how important it is to fail on a small scale, like I said before, so that you don't fail when you launch the finished product.
Yeah, teaching them how to persist even in the face of challenge and seeing those failures less as like, I didn't get this, and more like, ooh, now I learned and can do better. Plus the resilience they'll learn from getting up and going again, I think is so important for this generation of learners. Here's the thing. Most of us didn't learn how to balance a budget until our bank accounts made that painfully clear. We didn't understand risk until a business venture, or a job, or a relationship didn't exactly go the way we planned. And we feared more than just not getting that 3 on our AP exam. We feared failure. But this course is helping students learn all of that early on, while the stakes are small and the learning is loud. They're selling real product, writing real case studies, and navigating real dilemmas. So whether students go on to launch a business, be a business manager, or just learn how not to overdraft their checking account, this course is setting them up for something many of us had to learn the hard way: how to think critically, how to manage money wisely, and how not to see failure as the end, but as an iteration. Life skills, in other words. What's one thing that you wish you'd learned in high school before life used you as a hands-on learning lab? Be sure to drop it in the comments. And if this episode took you back to an era where compound interest could have been a cool indie band or a vibe, follow the show and leave a quick rating. It helps other educators to find us and helps keep us make the learning loud. Thank you for watching the What and Who of EDU, and we look forward to seeing you next time.